Hello, hello. How are you today? Interesting times. A lot of ways. It's hard to tell which way is up right now. And if you're feeling it, I am too. It's okay. So I labeled today's live as "Who's Holding You Back?" It's a big question because we give our power away to so many different things, or actually we're forced to unknowingly. And I want to kind of talk about some of the most common ones just so that you could self-reflect and see if that applies to you, or maybe it's hidden in your shadow or other things. So the biggest one we're ever gonna say that's holding us back is ourselves. And that one's pretty easy to see because we're afraid of change, we're afraid of progress, we're afraid that something in our past is going to happen once again, and it scares us that and we go into these protection modes, and then our subconscious mind starts to make stories and twist facts to basically keep us safe. So that's one of the biggest ones. That little warrior that's inside yourself, it's usually your inner child, is protecting you. It doesn't want you to get hurt, or your heart get hurt, or to have a bad experience. So that's one of them. The next one is if you consider yourself a victim to something. So this one's pretty insidious. We are trained by society that it's not our responsibility, or what's happening in our life is caused by somebody else. We're being attacked, we're being hurt, we're being harmed, being traumatized, etc. But this is one of the quickest ways to let our power go in not taking self-responsibility. I realize that maybe somebody hurt you or harmed you or did something to you, and it can get really easy to hide behind that there's people like that out there, and it's scary, and this is going to happen again. Or we can start to go inside and take a new perspective and start to take what I call self-responsibility. And this one's a big step sometimes, just saying that everything that happens to us or happens in our life is not to us, it's for us. It's contracts that we've created before we came in, especially the hard stuff, the traumas, etc., that were meant to force us to change, to start to take new perspectives, to start to take some responsibility. And a lot of the responsibility is going to be hard because it's stuff that's been programmed in our childhood by our parents, by our religion, etc., that make soft boundaries and make us have to be a people pleaser or something like that. And then we get into a situation where our people pleaser is present and somebody crosses an unstated boundary, and then all of a sudden it's a trauma to us. And these things will bring us to our bottom. They will bring us to hit a bottom, sometimes in alcoholism or addiction or hating ourselves or whatever, but they crack us through the shell that's hiding us and teach us something about ourselves. And then eventually we get to the bottom, and then we have to crack open, and then we can start making new choices with new visibility. But sometimes that means a really hard bounce. So stepping away from being victim and starting to look inside, start to become aware, is going to be huge in not giving our power away. It's all of a sudden, okay, I did that, I participated in that, I didn't know how to say no, I didn't know how to defend myself, I didn't know how to state my truth before we even got to that situation. And sometimes it can lead to situations that get out of control. So victim is a huge one. And if we sit in the victim mentality and then we start identifying perpetrators and other things, we just end up in a world of getting smashed and a lot of darkness and evil, and then we can't move forward. After that is things like giving our power away to our parents, for example. Doing exactly what they say, or looking for validation in them once we become adults, because maybe that's what we were trained into as children, is to please our parents and to make everybody happy and to be a good boy and a good girl. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with this, but I'm saying as we grow into our adulthood, sometimes we don't know to let these things go and start to take responsibility for our own lives, start to make our own choices. I know there's a lot of things in our world where we look for validation of our partner or boyfriends, girlfriends with our parents. And so we'll go and ask for their blessing, I guess is the way we call it. There's many different things that we learn to go through. The religious sides of our upbringing, can I take your hand in marriage, or those kind of things. Those are all validation things that we go through our parents for. But as we're growing and as we're becoming adults and these kind of things, it can distort our choices, and we want somebody that'll please a parent or other things, and then we just wander around people pleasing all the time. That's the next one I was going to start talking about, is the people pleasing side of things. So a lot of times in this world, we are lured, I guess is the right word, into trying to please everybody all around us, and it's an impossible task. If we get lost in trying to make everybody happy before we can be happy, it's a losing battle, because from experience of seeing the people around me, that's impossible, because you can't ever make anybody happy, and especially when they're in a low vibration or unhappy or some of these other victim things and stuff we talked about earlier. They got to make those choices, they got to make those changes, so you're never really going to make them happy without living their life for them, and then they resent you and it becomes a big huge mess. So where are you people pleasing? Where are you putting your needs behind other people's happiness first? And this is a very common thing in this society. I'm not saying anybody's bad, but if you're people pleasing, when do you ever get to be happy? When do you ever get to be first? You'll find it's an impossible task. People pleasing is the most insane thing that we do as human beings, trying to find our happiness through others. And it's living outside ourselves, trying to find love outside of ourselves, when our first thing that we need is self-love. And without self-love, we're kind of lost, because who's going to protect us? Who's going to say no? Who's going to stand up for us? It sets our boundaries. It sets kind of the rules we live our lives by. So that's another one. And then the last one, I could go on for an hour about all these things, but the last one is not using your yeses and nos. And this might sound kind of insane or an easy one, but there's a lot of people that are in people pleasing and other behaviors that will not say no to other people. And it's a hard one. You need to be able to say no sometimes. And the first time you say no can be a very visceral experience, because a lot of people have been trained to say yes all the time. And this creates, when you create yes, even though you mean no, how can people learn to trust you? And how can all these things and violations happen, traumas happen, etc., etc. So we're learning our yeses and nos, learning to speak up, learning communication, learning all these things. These are just some of the things that we get distracted and live our lives to please other people and never end up actually living our own lives. So just sit with some of these things. I'm not saying any of these things are bad. I'm just saying that they lead to behaviors and beliefs inside, and an erosion of our ability to live, to be full beings. So take a listen. If anything resonates, just sit with it for a while, and it might trigger you, and it might make you unhappy, and it might make you angry, and it might whatever, but awareness is the first key. So once we know that some of these things exist in our lives, we can start to understand why, and why do I do that? Where did it come from? When did it start? It's a very key to our awakening process. So, and I see my mom on here giving me an I love you and hello. Hello, hello. I'm wishing you all well. I wish you all a great day. And I hope this information helps, and go and sit with it and see if you can maybe dig out from under a few of these things and find more and more inner peace, self-love, etc. Have a great day. We'll talk to you soon. Bye. Have a good day.